Hey guys, it's Todd with Prepared to Survive, back at you with another gear review here. Benchmade knives. Before I owned a Benchmade, when I heard the name Benchmade, I thought of quality, price, and reliability. Usually in that order. Before I started working at outdoor stores and where I really had the chance to hold them hands-on, I always figured it's a knife. Knives cut. They're all designed. This knife is going to cut the same as this knife, besides the size. That's what I thought. And in some aspects, I suppose you're right. They are all going to cut. But how well are they going to hold their edge? And how well is the knife going to hold up? How well is this pocket clip going to work? Because if you're buying cheap $30 knives all the time and the pocket clips are causing them to fall out of your pocket and you're losing them every time you go to the movies, you might have been better off just buying one of these bad boys. Now, I see a lot of people have the Griptilian or the 940. Wrangler Star had the 940. I don't know if he still does. Aaron has the Griptilian, and I'll be honest, I love the Griptilian. I love the 940. What hooked me on this knife, and this was the first Benchmade I ever bought when I worked at Gander Mountain for the holiday season 2 years ago. This has been my EDC knife ever since then, with the exception of I swapped it out for the orange model before I realized the orange was a Cabela's exclusive. And yes, well, it is a tool. This one still works perfectly fine. So I might as well use the hell out of this one and then save the Cabela's exclusive for when this one dies. And my dog is trying to eat squirrels. Sorry about that, guys. She likes squirrels. So it's an Osborne design. I don't know much about that knife designer. I'll be honest, I'm not a huge knife guy. How I learned about this knife was through the 3.5 program that Cabela's and Gander and probably Bass Pro all have. And they kind of go over the knives, and this was in my price point, and it was an assisted opening, which at the time, I thought assisted opening knives were pretty much the coolest thing ever. I was new to the higher end knives, and every other knife I had been like a Gerber up until this point. It was the highest end knife I owned. I think the highest end knife I owned was actually the CRKT M16Z1. It's the M16 with the serrated blade. So I got this knife. And I've used this knife camping, hunting, hiking, for everyday tasks. This is literally my go-to knife for everything. What are some things that I really like about it? And I'm not going to give you the specs, guys. Hardly any of our usage reviews are going to have specs because you can get those off the website. And honestly, well, yeah, weight's a thing. If you like a knife or you like a tool and it works and it's reliable, sometimes the weight's worth it. So some of the things I like about it are you can do left or right pocket carry. Personally, it was set up to go in my pocket like this, so right pocket carry, I guess, because I didn't want it out being assisted opening, and I didn't know where my little screwdriver was at the time. This lock back here, so you can't open it, I've never used it. Every time, before I used to take my knives to Bass Pro to get sharpened, before I realized how much metal they took off of them, they'd always lock it when they handed it back to me. If Chelsea uses it, or I hand it to her, I'll lock it because she's not totally comfortable with the assisted opening. So there's that. I really, really like the Axis lock. It locks up nice and solid. I do not feel in danger at all doing this, and I'm putting every bit of pressure I can. That thing didn't even move on there. I like the fact that it has thumb studs on both sides, so I can open it this way, or if my hand was hurt and I was out in the woods, I can open it that way without an issue. Okay? I really like that. I got the all black model. You can get the blade stainless, I believe. I did reprofile the edge a little bit using the Work Sharp 20-degree guide angle sharpener. That is the best sharpener I think I've ever used. It's made out of 154 cm steel. I'm pretty sure that's the steel type. Like I said, I'm not a huge knife guy, but there you go. I have used this knife for everything. I've cleaned a rabbit or two with it. I've cleaned a squirrel with it. I have, I've batoned wood with it. I've made feather sticks out of it. I've opened probably 1 million boxes with it. Mail. This thing's the best letter opener you'll ever buy. I got the mini. It's the mini barrage. I should point that out. It's the barrage mini, or I'm not sure how they have that in there, but it's the tinier of the two. I didn't get the bigger one. Honestly, because this blade is pretty much legal everywhere, and I didn't want to have to swap out my knife if I was going to like the People's Republic of Massachusetts or the People's Republic of New York, or one of those states that just seem not to want their citizens to have freedom. With that being said, it has performed admirably in every task I've given it. I've never had an issue with this knife, with one exception. When I first got it, I used to carry it on my left side a lot, and it used to fall out of my left side pocket a lot, and I'm not really sure why. It has never fallen out of my right side pocket, because this clip is pretty good. I mean, you know, it takes a little bit of, you know, muscle to get that up, so to speak. So that's the only issue. Is I don't know why it kept falling out of the left side pocket. Maybe it's because of how I had other things in there too. At the time, I was rocking pretty much everything in my left pocket, because I carry my gun on my right side, so if I needed to get to something, I had my gun out. I don't know why my multi-tool was over there, but you know, I could still have my gun out. So that was the reasoning there. Since I switched it to my right pocket, figuring I'm more likely to need my flashlight than my knife when my gun's out. I mean, worst case scenario, I can always pull up my wave, but it has had zero issues. I love this knife. There's a little bit of like jimping on the spine back here. It's worn pretty smooth. You know, these cutouts right here for your hands, your fingers, they just, it's like where your fingers are supposed to ride. Let me show you here, see? I don't ever really pay attention to that when I use it. I've used this thing in the kitchen before, and yeah, I've gotten yelled at for it because, you know, I don't know where your knife's been, is what Chelsea would say, and I mean, that's probably true, but the way I look, it was going, you know, and I was just using it to open up like a package of frozen chicken or something and break them apart. I love this knife. It is my second favorite knife. And the knife that is more favorite than this is only more favorite because I've had it for longer and I've beat the hell out of it. And it still works and it still holds a great edge. As far as an EDC knife, this is my favorite knife. As far as an all-around, like, beat the hell out of it, emergency use it to open cans, I'm sure this knife will do it. I'm not about to go open a can with it. The next knife review you guys see from me will be that knife. And it is the K-Bar Dozer. The Dozier, and I'm not sure how you pronounce it, but I'll show it to you. The price on this retail, I believe, is about 130 bucks. Bass Pro, Cabela's, Gander, you know. So you can find it cheaper online. If you guys have a small gun or knife shop and it's comparable to the retail price, support your local guys. I mean, small business is really the best thing about this country, is that we have those small businesses and we should support them. And sometimes they have to charge a little bit more because they have overhead where, you know, sometimes online retailers don't, because they just keep everything in their basement. So just keep that in mind, guys. As far as getting it out, you know, I mean, you can just pull down this lock and flick it out if you want to. You do, because it is spring assisted opening, you do have to guide it in with a finger, but, you know, and then you can just, so it is one-handed opening if you want to do that, or that, you know, one-handed closing if you have something to close the blade on. If you're gonna buy a Benchmade knife, and I would suggest this one anyway. This would be my #1 Benchmade purchase, and I've held the other knives. I've held the Griptilians. Chelsea has a mini Griptilian, and it's nice. I've held the 940s. I love this knife, guys. It has never, ever gone wrong for me, and I love just that click. You know your knife's open, and you know, you hear people say all the time, well, I'm just gonna rack around in the chamber. I think you should have your gun loaded all the time. If you can't carry a gun on you, that might help deter someone. I don't know. I'm not an expert at knife fighting. Hopefully I'd never have to pull my knife on someone. Hopefully I'd never have to pull my gun on someone, but gun's going to be number one if I need to defend myself, because I'm not sure how I would fare with this. Not the knife itself, I'm sure it would do just fine, but me. The other cool thing about it, and I haven't done anything with this one, is it has the lanyard hole here. So you could put, you know, a little paracord lanyard on there. I might at some point. And I forgot to mention, you can also lock the blade open. If you're going to be doing some really heavy tasks, I have done that twice when I was batoning, because I wasn't sure how it would hold up. Nothing huge, I mean, just, you know, wood the size of the blade, basically. Even after, you know, a little over 2 years, I guess, it still rides pretty close to center in there. And that's nice. Benchmade made a really quality knife. It holds an edge really well. It takes an edge super easy. So I found the locking system's great. This would be the #1 knife I'd recommend for someone who wants a knife for the rest of their life and never wants to have to buy another pocket knife again. You can do everything with this knife. It's not too big, it's not too small. And you know, I can't say enough about it. If you guys have any questions about my experiences with it or anything else, definitely post below. One other thing I do want to add is the spine is sharp enough where you could strike a ferro rod with it. And I have done it. Not often, but I have done it just to test it. So if you have a ferro rod, you can certainly strike a spine with it. Hopefully for these reviews, I'm going to follow them up with actual usage reviews where I'm doing these things with them. And they're going to be a separate video because we're getting ready to move, so I don't have time to go out into the woods really right now, per se, drive, you know, an hour to the woods or whatever. But I would like to do some usage reviews. If there's things you'd like me to see that, you know, like me to do with this knife, let me know. Obviously I'm not going to do anything that's going to destroy it because I did pay my own money for it. And I love it. So, like I say, if you have any questions, concerns, comments, feel free to let me know, guys. Hopefully you'll like and share. And if you like our content, please subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. So until next time, enjoy the outdoors and be prepared to survive.